Okay, we're live.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I don't know if anyone's going to be in here. Well, they're definitely not, because it would have just popped up and confused everyone. Do we just sit here in silence and stare at the screen until someone shows up?
Yeah, I'm hoping that somebody comes in.
How could John comment on the last one if it was...
Literally no idea.
Oh, Tash made it. We got Tash. Oh dear, we may have messed up the whole thing.
I feel like we have. That's an absolute nightmare start to the day.
Hello, is anyone here?
Somebody
Are you all little? What do you mean, are we all little? It said was taken off by upload. Yeah, so there's only 2 people in here. Technical difficulties, yes, sir. Can you hear little people? What?
No. Who? What?
What are you talking about? What do you mean, can we hear little people?
Can you hear people? I don't know. Right, I'm just trying to edit the video thing on YouTube to make sure it's all got all the right.
Is it showing in vertical? Show the preview of your vertical podcast. What do you mean we're in little? What do you mean we're tiny?
Oh, is it because it's in vertical? No, I don't know.
Why do you have 2 streams?
Oh,
okay, what do we mean? Okay, let's start with one problem. What do you mean we're tiny?
Honestly,
okay, hold on, let me get it up on my phone. What's happening?
I genuinely don't
know. Work in progress.
I think what it's done is so you know when we created the vertical and the thingy, it's doing 2 streams. One's in vertical and one's in landscape. So there should be 2 streams live. there should be 2 streams live. Click on the one that is landscape. I don't know what it's doing.
You're on a live short thing. We're on a live short as well.
I don't know.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up. Okay, there is 2 live. There's 7 on one and 9 on another. One of them is mobile viewing.
The chat is different in both, right? Okay, everybody who's in the vertical one, come over to the landscape one, please, so that everyone. I don't know, Simon. I don't know what's going on.
Who's in the other one? Are they combined?
They combine the viewers, but they don't combine the chat.
What? Okay, do we take one down?
I think that's what happened before. I don't know.
How do we fix this?
Oh my god! I am not in the physical...
Watch whatever one you want.
I'm not in the physical condition to get this working today.
Did you click an option where it opens with the other thing?
No. So on on StreamYard, there is an option where orientation, landscape, and portrait recommended, and I clicked that. And I think what it's done then is it's created 2 live streams, one in vertical and one in landscape. So now I know not to do that ever again.
Do we look good in vertical?
I think we look amazing.
We look good.
Incredible in vertical.
They prefer us small so they can't see us as much. That's reasonable also. If you want to avert your eyes, I understand completely.
Yeah, so just jump in the landscape one essentially is what I think is the best.
I mean, you can look at whatever one you like. But here we are. Chris is done out.
I am absolutely washed. my throat is killing me, and I woke up and it felt like I'd been like stomped on my head a couple of times. Tasha is adamant that she did not.
You're gonna have to fix it as you can't see both chats. No, I think we can see both chats. I think it's combined.
I don't think you can. So Kaylee, for instance, I can see that you're in the vertical one because there's a little icon next to your name.
Oh, is that what that is? I thought that meant they were on mobile.
Kaylee's in the vertical one, Simon's in the vertical one, but then he said he's in, so he looks like he's come into the what's the sideways one? Landscape. He's come into the landscape. So you need to go into the landscape one.
This is a disaster. We were late because we tried to start up and because we changed it this morning. I clicked go live and then it said your stream's been deleted. And we were like, okay, that's cool. So then we had to reset that up and now we're here. Can we not delete one?
No, because that will be what happened. Just we're gonna have to leave it.
No, that's not what happened. I think it's because you edited stuff. If I click edit, can I change it? Entertainment, change up. No, I got nothing. Well, here we are. If you're in vertical, hi. If you're in landscape, hi. Good morning. XMAS.
I can already tell this is going to be the consistency of my week already. I reckon.
I'm not sure I want to talk to you today. To be honest with you, you just seem a bit naff.
No, I'm absolutely battered. Like I genuinely am. And the funny thing is obviously we had the Christmas party on Thursday, and then I had like Friday, Saturday off. Basically, we went to Airbnb in the middle of nowhere and just basically did pretty much nothing for a long time throughout those 2 days. And I was saying just Benji just a minute ago off air. There's like this theory that if you work hard, and then you stop working hard for like a couple of days, like your body goes, now you're ill. Versus when you're working hard all the time and you're not thinking about it, your body kind of just lets you get on with it.
My friend used to be a great example of this because he used to play rugby, like semi-pro, right? And he used to just train all the time. Like all the time he'd be training, or if not in the gym, blah, blah. And then he'd stop for like a week and he'd almost always be ill.
Yeah.
Like he would just be training. And as soon as he stopped, he was ill. Or got injured, he'd be ill as well on top of being injured because he's just slowed down. Joe's on her TV but set on the phone version. It's fine on my TV but little on my laptop. There's 2 streams open. If you go to our page, if you click on our channel, there's 2 streams. One has a phone after it, and one has not a phone after it. If you want the landscape, click the non-phone. If you want the portrait, click the phone. Skinny dipping in a lake at the end of November won't help. Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm great. I'm having a great time.
That's never usually the issue. There's loads of people that all like do fucking like 3-degree waters like all year round and never have an issue. There's a guy actually that if anybody wants the recommendation for Instagram, watch a guy called Ice Bath Harry. He's like
the Harry we know.
No. So Harry was like 400 and something odd days ago, like he was a drug addict and stuff. And I think he's on day 497 now of doing ice baths and basically using it as a way of consistency and like to stop his addiction essentially. And he's been clean for like nearly 500 days, and he's just doing ice baths every day. And he'll just sit in the ice bath and chill and just have a conversation. And it's actually really good content. So if anybody does want to watch any of that sort of stuff, boom.
I mean, ice baths are interesting, right? Because I feel like they've never there's like not actually an incredible amount of like science back behind them, but they are in terms of mental fortitude. I feel like they're really good because you just have to do something really hard every day that you don't want to do, and
you in the morning as well.
It never gets like it still sucks every single time you do it. So it's just good for overcoming whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Also, way up and
hey.
We just jumped all the way up and people, and then I felt like it went down.
Yeah. I think we've messed it royally, but yeah, the ice bath thing is something that I've been thinking about. Like, I genuinely want to like get one for the garden and do it because I think it will help me. I'm addicted to the feeling after going in cold water more than I am being in it. But I feel like that's kind of the point. Like, you've got to do the hard thing to get the fun, like the feeling afterwards, right? Yeah, like I feel like that's the vibe, but I'll get one at some point.
Were you really? I used to take, when I was again into my entrepreneurial mode, and I used to read books every day and go to the gym every day. I used to cold shower every day as well. And
by the way, just as a thing, cold showering is way worse than ice bathing because still water is so much easier to deal with than running water. When we were in Scotland, we went into a lake and that was like, it was cold, but like it was fine. But when then we went into like a stream.
What is that?
I don't know.
Is someone just trying to sorry, I'm going to put this on the screen because we've got 2 chats and some might not be able to see it. We've just received this message from Robert Barry. I don't know if he's trying to hack us. If the stream goes down now, his fault.
Yes.
Be aware.
But when we were in Scotland, we went into a stream, like after a waterfall, like a little river bit, and that was like you were in it, but there was no point in which you got settled in it because the water's constantly coming, and it didn't feel like so. Having a cold shower is way worse than just jumping into like an ice bath or a lake or something.
The only difference is the cold shower can't get that cold. Like
the degrees is probably closer to like 7 or so.
Has anyone? This is a good question actually. Has anyone tried anything like this? Like, has anyone ever been an ice bather or like done something that they thought was going to change their lives if they consistently did it for whatever reason, or like it was a missing piece of puzzle? Anything entrepreneurial, like some weird morning routine or anything like that? I'd genuinely be interested to hear and how it went and like, how long you kept it up for, and if you're sleeping.
Me is like I used to get up early, like that was the thing, and I've always said it, but the most productive I've ever been is when I got up early, and I felt like that was just like because I used to read all these books and watch these videos where people are like I get up at 4 a.m. I'm in the gym by 5, and then like you're just like I can get all this done, and these motherfuckers are still asleep, and I'm like I'm not going to go to the gym, but I will get up and get some stuff done before people wake up.
We're getting some through.
Okay.
I knew before when I was saying this out loud, I thought Xander would have done ice baths. I just assume it at some point he would have. He quit. He hated it. Never again. Yes. Did you feel like it made any difference to your life, or just like you just hated everything for a little bit? I did the ice bucket challenge once. That convinced me that I don't like ice.
I've done that challenge as well.
I remember that the ALS ice bucket challenge for charity. Eating low carb / keto totally changed my energy levels. So this is a really interesting one that I genuinely feel like it is a lot of people's thing is like having a diet that feels good. And it's something that I notice and pay attention to myself because I'm someone who will, especially when you eat slightly less, I can tell if I have a dip in mood because I haven't eaten or energy levels. So eating consistently in what you eat, and like for example, if I I like eating KFC, but if I eat a KFC, I'm done now. I'm like even the next day, I'm like, whoa. Whereas if I eat like healthy or clean, then I feel so much better. And so it genuinely makes such a difference. I feel like diet is probably going to be one of the biggest ones that's going to change people's lives. I find waking up every day as a real positive. I find it a negative. Can't stand every time I wake up.
Same shit, different day, man. Just do it all over again.
My weird entrepreneurial routine is watching a podcast at 9:30 every Monday. You're welcome. I'm sure that has changed your life.
I went through like a 2-month phase, by the way, where I lost like 2 stone. And all I did was have for my breakfast, I would have a chicken breast and like a stem of broccoli, like a couple of stems of broccoli or whatever. And then at dinner, I'd have 2 chicken breasts and stems of broccoli, and then I did the same again at tea. And I lost literally like 2 stone within like 4 months. And then after the 4 months was up, I just couldn't keep on. Like it's just so, and you don't have to go to that level of like stupidness, like you can eat good food.
That's unsustainable.
But it was good, and I felt good. And one thing that I always say as well is if I drink water over like sodas and stuff, like my brain is much clearer, like all of the time. Like drinking the sugary drinks is the worst thing that I do, and yet I'm still I'm addicted to it. So I still just do it, which is annoying.
That's interesting. Connie, which I think is Shell's daughter.
Yeah.
Just look, she went into. I've seen this in Sweden, where she went into the frozen sea in the northern Sweden near the Arctic Circle, where they cut a hole in the ice and you go in for a few seconds, 4 degrees down in the water. That is mental. Like, I would definitely do it. I think it'd be so interesting and fun. And you watch the people jump in the like Norway and Sweden and stuff like that in like fjords, and they're like.
They go into the corner first, some of them as well, and then jump into the thing.
That's painful.
Yeah, that's not a vibe I would go for. But there's the ice bath. Harry guy's got like a box that comes off his ice bath, and that regulates the temperature inside the thing, and he always has it set to like 3 degrees. Mm-hmm. So like that is very, very cold.
Yeah,
like, I'd imagine that being pretty elite.
Well, sidebar of that done. It's Christmas in the reselling world. It's Christmas in the reselling world, which means all sorts of things are happening. Some people are the most excited they've ever been because it's Christmas time in Q4, and like, all my sales are going to go through the roof. It's going to be fantastic, which is fair because a lot of people, depending on your niche, you get very good time of year for a lot of people. However, for us lonely secondhand clothing and shoe sellers and whatever, it's a bit of a miserable point of the year, I'd actually say, more than anything else. I don't know, Dig, how was the mirror game at Christmas time? I'm interested if it's good, to be honest with you. Who else is in here? Do we have anyone that sells? Jay's kind of all over the shop. Shell sells all over the shop as well.
I feel like vintage in other niches is way more acceptable than like pre-owned clothing for like Christmas presents and stuff. Like getting somebody a vintage lamp or something like that, like as a Christmas present or a mirror, would be okay. But like most of clothing isn't. The only thing that I always say is a massive exception is just like at the weekend I found those like 1992 and 1994 Sheffield United football shirts, where they're just like, obviously you're not going to be able to get them anymore, and they're like triple figures. Both of the two of the three were like triple figure shirts. They're more acceptable as gifts because people can buy them like that. But realistically, pre-owned clothing in general is probably not frowned upon, but it probably isn't as widely as accepted as other niches.
My view on it is anything with memories or like history, where you can give it to someone because it like relates to them. So, for example, I had a lot of. I actually struggled to sell some vintage T-shirts I had until Christmas time, where they were clearly being bought as gifts for people because they're like, oh, you remember this and this. I actually think that's a really nice thing to do as well. I quite like that in the idea of a gift is giving some sort of like history type thing to them, which is really nice. Dig's popping off. She said, fabulous, we've had our best November so far, and she's basically doubling her at normal revenue in the mirror game. Fantastic. Last year, December was my second best month, with April being my best. That's interesting, Andy.
And I also want to put a little bit of a guiding light and hope for people, because I saw in one of our WhatsApp chats for the retailer group that people were talking about January and not knowing how it's going to go for them. But this year, up until like October, January was my best performing month out of all of them, other than October so far. So second best performing month. So even after Christmas, January still pops off. It does really well. December is usually like a dip, and then January goes back up for me pretty quickly.
This therefore leads me to like we talked a bit about this in the group the other day in terms of like strategies or like plans for Christmas or how to deal with it. I won't say but there's a few ways I feel like you can deal with it. Like you could lower your volume if you wanted and save stuff. I don't. That's something you do, and a lot of people like to take the time off year, right? Like I think Christmas is a big season for a lot of people, and being able to focus on spending time with your family and friends and stuff like that is big for a lot of people. So I feel like a lot of time if people take time off, it's often around this time of year. And for clothing sellers, I feel like it makes sense. Maybe not Andy, but because it's not the best time of year when you're selling used stuff, and it's one of the most important times of the year to a lot of people. I don't. On the other side of that, though, I feel like you can prep for it, right? Like if you do want to take time, this is something I'm bad at, and I'd like to be better at, is prepping. Like prepping for anything. So, for example, you're ill. A lot of people from the party are ill, and having prepped for that is really important. I don't think I ever do. I don't have contingency plans. I don't feel like I have backup. I feel like my contingency plan is I don't care how ill I am. I'll turn up anyway.
I feel like you're like, in terms of postage though, right? Like you could probably get the girl from the charity shop again, or different, or the lady you had before, right? Like the last one. Like there is some contingency there. Like for me, obviously, I'm super lucky because James does the listings. Tasha basically works alongside me anyway. And then my daughter also knows how to do, like, she understands the postage system and the photography processes and stuff like that. So realistically, if we were both ill, it would only be one, which is sourcing, that would be the biggest issue. Everything else can kind of be covered, if that makes sense. But obviously, I'm in a pretty fortunate position that I've got somebody that basically mirrors what I do anyway, so it kind of makes my life a little bit easier. But obviously, not everyone's as privileged as that for the most part. So I think if you've got people in your life that can help you a little bit, like, it's not the problem is if you get ill suddenly, and then like postage, if you have like we have like a next day dispatch or whatever, like if you're ill and like you just physically can't get up to go and do the postage, like then you've got some serious issues, because you've got to trust or hope that somebody knows how to work it and make it.
See, in my head, the only type of ill I could be that would mean I didn't go do that would be like physically.
Broke your neck.
Like, if not, like, what sort of ill is gonna? Unless I'm like just constantly throwing up or something. Just for anyone's lovely Monday morning, if they want to think about that. Like, if anyone wants to think about that, then I know, because I feel like listing and photographing obviously is a bit more effort. But if you just need to get, I think that's one of the good things about this job is like there's a minimum you can do to still keep the business running over, and it's not that much effort unless especially if you're doing clothing. If you're doing CRT TVs, that's when you're feeling like absolutely realistic. You drug up, you show up for like half an hour, and then you just head home and die. Like that would be what I'd do, generally speaking. You could probably crack out some photos as well, to be fair. But yeah, contingency plans, I don't really have one. Like, obviously you're saying that the charity shop people are kind of like a contingency plan, but to come in last minute, they wouldn't be able to do that. Like, they wouldn't, like, I couldn't be like, hey, I need you to show up today. And they'd be like, oh yeah, no problem. The girl who did it whilst I was away, she was like, she had to come on certain days because she didn't work those days. And then the charity shop person didn't want to come because she would have had to have got the bus here and so on and so forth. So it's a lot in terms of that sort of thing. But I don't even know what, except for having someone else that works for you, what could you even have as a contingency plan for postage?
Yeah, unless you could do, I mean,
does anyone have a contingency plan for postage if they're by themselves, or if it's just you in the business? Does anyone actually have a plan for if they get ill and can't do postage, especially for eBay people? Because eBay people, you'd be fucked realistically.
Yeah, I think it depends. If you do like a 2 or 3 day dispatch, it's probably a little bit easier because you can try and get somebody to help you. But if you do next day and then you just randomly wake up ill, like I have, obviously I can go and do the postage, it's no big deal. But like if it's a more serious illness or whatever, it's way more difficult. You can't use AI to do postage, Andrew. How are you doing that?
Yeah, it's an amazing other half. This is. I feel like this is a cheat code.
Yeah, just having an amazing missus or husband or something like that.
I don't know if my mum would be able to do it. The thing is, you'd have to know what they're like. You'd have to help them figure it out quickly.
I mean, right? To be fair, like your mum's a pretty intelligent woman. I'm assuming she'd understand. All right. Well, okay. I would assume that she would understand how a numerical skew works. It is realistically, like we say. I mean, I think Simon said it quite a few times actually in a few videos and stuff. Is that like anybody should be able to come into your skew system and just be able to pick the stuff. Like it shouldn't be. It should be so easy that it's not difficult. However, I also watched Simon's video where Nick and Andrew were there, and Nick tried to do it, but because Simon goes like all the way around and back round, he does like a massive like S, I think he does like an S thing. Nick got confused and he was like, "No, you got to go around here." So, even if we have it and we think it's the most simple, somebody who doesn't know anything about it might not know.
I like that Nick and Andrea are going like a world tour.
I was gonna say they just go around everybody's gaff, aren't they?
You need to get your own account, Mom. You can't keep going. It's good marketing for IPI, I guess, but outside of that, Yeah, I mean, I feel like that wouldn't be the issue. I don't think. I think the others, especially if it's, for example, I use Smart Send, and
That's the only thing I've had to do with my daughter, because she does some of the postage, is I have like a video saved of like how to post through. Like, I'm using Yodel Direct again now rather than the P2A or whatever it's called, PTG. P2G? Was it?
I always said Pete's Way. I was like, what is Pete's Way?
I use Yodel Direct now, so I have like a video recorded of like all of the things that need to be done on there, so that I've just got it saved, so I can just send it to her every time we go away, just to refresh her, and she just has a video and it like shows you how to do it. And obviously, the more I go away and the more I do it, she'll get better and better at doing it anyway. But yeah, in general, like it is relatively easy to get it.
Did she do it this
weekend? So she did Friday, and I thought Thursday was going to be slow, because Thursdays for me are usually relatively slow in general. So we did postage on Thursday before we went to the party, but she didn't get to do the postage until like 2 p.m. on the Friday. But the 20% co-funded coupon that eBay had started running on the Thursday, so I think she ended up having like 26 sales to send out. And 2 of them were the teak, like the big teak stereo like thing. Yeah, 2 of those to do. And the worst part is that 2 of them, both of the ones that had sold, look absolutely identical, but one's a Mark II and one's a Mark III, and the only differentiation is like a small MK11 and an MK111. So I had to get her to video call me, and I was like, look, this is the one that you want for this guy, this is the one you want for that guy. Make sure that you keep those labels separate. But what would be even better for me is if I pre-packed, because then I would just put numbers on those, and she would have just been able to go to it, put the label on, and be done with it. So I think when you have somebody come in and try and do some of these things, like, it would be great for you to have your mom come in and just try and do it without telling her how to do it, and then you see the points that would become difficult, and then you try and make those easier.
I mean, that's what I was thinking when I had someone come in. I was like, I wonder if she'll find anything that like doesn't work for her, or like a very obvious like inefficiency. You know what I mean? Where you can jump in and be like, oh, let me fix this. Also, for anyone that's here for like Christmas party tea, it was very nice. It was a very the place was crazy. Like,
was it 200 acres?
Yeah, it was like 200 acres and some.
And it had a lake in the garden. Like, me and Benji entered the lake on the morning after the party, and we decided to go for a little chill in the lake. But yeah, the place was insane. It was like 3 buildings, very, very country.
It was the most country thing you've ever seen in your life. There was like animal heads. I mean, the actual thing is they clearly didn't know they had resellers coming, because the walls were stacked with money. Just ridiculous amounts of money.
It was like the first boiler, like racing boiler suit that Michael Schumacher had ever worn. That was in a frame. There was signed Pele, signed Messi shirts, signed Alan Shearer. They had £500. We were paying beer pong on a table, and behind me, as I was throwing this beer pong, there was like a set of plates on this like chest of drawers, like Welsh dresser, and each of those plates were like £500 a piece. And we were just launching beer balls around.
It
was ludicrous, the place.
Yeah, and it was very cute, and it was really nice having everyone together. To be honest with you, we had breakfast in the morning, and I was just there like, oh, look at this, and everyone was having their little bacon sandwiches and sausage sarnies or whatever. Oh, those are so cute. But yeah, it was good. It was really good. Obviously, the details are the details, but it was really nice, and the place was really nice. And I don't know when the next one will be, but Merry Christmas to everyone that came. Even though a lot of you are ill now.
My favorite part of the whole thing was just like how everybody came away going, "Oh, it's just nice to have people that you like just in it." You know what I mean? Like, just being in a group of people that you get on with and that do the same thing as you, and just give that sort of vibe was quite nice.
Yeah, it was like going to a museum. It actually was. Yeah. It was almost like a sporting museum. Like, that's exactly what I feel like stuff like that would be like. But yeah, so just in case anyone was here for that, it was nice, and the place was crazy, and it was. I would have actually liked to have stayed there for a weekend and like proper like explored it a bit, because it was just a lot. Like, you could have gone all over the shop. Back to this sort of thing. Yeah, I always wondered if there'd be anything that they'd pull out in terms of my processes that they'd be like, oh yeah, this makes no sense. And she was like, no, everything's good. Because it's always interesting to have especially an outside perspective on your business, where someone who doesn't do what you do and like has no idea what's going on or how things are meant to be.
Do you know what strikes me with this is that do you know George? Obviously, everyone knows George Ross, but you know George Ross, Amy, his wife. I want to say, I don't know if that's his wife. But she does like business analyzing, like business analysis stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes I've seen in one of his videos. She comes in and she'll like be looking at the way he processes stuff and tells him that he needs to change certain things. So having that kind of outside perspective,
really,
must be really.
Is that this is all whack, mate? You need to sort this out.
I'm pretty sure he said a couple of times that she's come in and helped him just sort of like from an outside business perspective, just look at it and go, this could be improved. This could be improved. Your storage maybe has a different solution, etc., etc. So like, I think that's really super interesting I think it'd be great to have somebody like that just come in and just like analyze the whole thing.
Just wreck your stuff. I always do you want it to be interesting? I wonder what like business consultants would say about our businesses. Because again, we often don't think of our businesses as like real businesses. But I wonder what they'd come in and say if they'd be like, oh yeah, you need to sort this out, or this isn't sustainable, or you need to change this because it's a mess, right? Yeah, I don't know what they'd say about us. Like, it'd be interesting because a lot of us probably feel like we have our process designed out. I feel like there's a lot of stuff they could say in terms of you should definitely say you're working inefficiently. In terms of like myself, you'd be like, you are working inefficiently.
That would be the number one problem in my business, is just how inefficient the working environment probably is.
Is Anna saying you'd have to restart? What, do you think you're in that bad a position?
I've seen when he went to go and pick a pair of jeans, and he did say, I think it was like last week or whatever, but it took him like a decent amount of time to find like one of the pairs of jeans. But I do think he started the SKU, like the box SKU and like the numerical numbers to get like a proper SKU system. So that just comes with time. Like once you've got all that nailed down, like obviously it's restarting the whole SKU system. I've been there and done it. It's not easy and it's long-winded, but once you get it down, it's done and it's dusted, and life becomes way much easier. But I'd imagine it's probably only the SKU system that Xander has like a real sort of like about, but everything else probably fine.
So John said they would say it would be difficult to scale. And why do you think that is, John? Like, what do you think they'd see? Because, for example, like if you compare it to,
I can answer this pretty quickly.
I know, but okay, go for it. But I'll give my example afterwards. Go.
So the reason why it's difficult to scale is because if I asked you what your profit margin per piece was, you'd probably say what, like 40%, and I would say 40 to 45%. Most businesses obviously run on a much smaller scale because they're buying in bulk. They can buy stuff and get like a 15 to 20% margin, and they're happy with that because they're getting so much. Reseller in me doesn't want 20% because it feels like a lot of work for a lot less volume. And most resellers will be stuck in the trap of, I don't want to take 20% of 1,000 items. I'd rather take 40% of 500 items. Even though it's because do you know what I mean? So I feel like they'll turn around and say you won't be able to scale because if you handpick, that just takes lots and lots of time. I mean, and unless you have like a very good source and a very good connection, it's going to be very difficult for you to scale way past where you want to be.
So do you think that's what I thought, right? So in terms of, I don't think the model is not scalable. For example, it depends how you do the model, right? I don't think the business itself or the model is not scalable. I think the sourcing method is normally the thing that stops the scalability, right? Like, because what I was gonna say is if you take like a coffee shop, like you don't look at a coffee shop model is much harder to scale than a reselling business. In my opinion, like opening, like having a successful coffee shop, making enough money from it on smaller margins to then open another coffee shop to then scale that to start a chain, I feel like is a much harder thing to do than scaling this. I don't know if people agree, and I feel like there's a lot of business like that where it's a lot harder to scale them than it would be to scale this.
I feel like one of the I might be talking out of turn because I don't know much about the business, but I feel like in my head it would work. Is that one of the easiest ones would be like a beauty salon or a hairdresser's. I feel like they would be really good to scale because you could just rent the place, employ people.
It's still difficult.
Open multiple, and then they're just renting out the chairs, and you can just open multiple. And at some point, you don't even need to do any hairdressing. It's the same with the cleaning. So we've got a lady who works, used to be the deputy manager at the Salvation Army, and she's just stepped down to a regular now, and she started her own cleaning business. And I'm like, that's really good. And we were just chatting the shit as you do sometimes. And I was like, within 6 months, you could not even have to clean. You could just have a team of cleaners that went and did all the cleaning. You take a cut for giving them the job. They take the money for doing the job. And then you don't even, like, if you can get enough together, you can just have a full-on cleaning business and not have to work. Just take the money from everybody else. And obviously, maybe you need 20 cleaners, maybe you need 15. I don't know what the margins would be, but like, it feels like it's easy to get that going. Whereas I feel like sourcing individual items and knowing what the items are, it's just a way more difficult way to source and to scale in general.
That's interesting. I don't know how I'd feel about that, because so with the physical store, for example, the hairdresser and stuff like that, you need to be able to run that model with enough profit margin to be able to scale to a new location. Like there's a lot that needs to go into that to be able to make the money to be able to continue scaling. Obviously, you could probably get business loans and stuff like that. And you then need to make sure that location is then successful. You need to have enough customers in there. You need to then put all the effort into making that work. And then the same with the other, like.
But then how long does it take, right? Realistically, from start to finish, how long would it take for somebody to buy, like, to get to a really scalable level in reselling? Because
I don't think that long. Like, I think, again, it's just because of sourcing. But I think you could come in and crack reselling in a year.
In my head, you just need a slight bit of snazzy businessman inside you to do the hairdresser thing. But when it comes to reselling, there is so many variables in items that will sell, niches, like styles, like all the trends, all this sort of stuff. There is way much more of and we used to talk about the entry to barrier to entry for reselling was really, really low. But actually, it's not as low as people think it is.
I see. I disagree. I think you're probably overcomplicating reselling and undercomplicating every other business. Like, I feel like there's a lot of variables in terms of selling
variables and everything, but
in terms of you selling a product, yeah, there might be variables, but again, you can figure out and get a nose for, like, or you can be data driven. So, for example, it was super interesting to listen to. I said it at the time, but at the Open, you had the garden company, right? And their model was look at trending items on social media platforms, analyze that, buy from wholesalers the items that they believe follow those sort of trends and understand what's going on. If those work, produce them themselves. Like, that is a very data-driven and simple thing to follow. They're not having to
have a manufacturing plant. You got to have the ability to manufacture.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about them doing that side of things. I'm just talking about them being data-driven in terms of what up and how they're doing things.
Your business has no continuity because you're just buzzing off trends all the time. You can make that work, but it's a way more difficult way to do it because you have to go right with the trends all the time to make that work.
It's interesting. You do, but that's what I'm saying. It depends what sort of trends. If they're like really short-term trends or they're longer-term trends or what. I do think it's scalable, and I do think it's, like, again, if sourcing is the main issue, else all of us could have scaled by now, realistically speaking.
Do we actually think sourcing is the issue, or do you think it's our ability to not give up more percentage that's the issue? Because if I can go onto any branded wholesale website and I can buy items for £10 and sell them for 22, right? Well, I could have an infinite supply, which a lot of these places do. I can make money off that, and that is a viable business. But I won't do it, and you wouldn't do it. So are we the problem? Because sourcing isn't the problem if you do that model.
I mean, I think, again, the only issue with that, and the reason people start with this model a lot of the time, it is because it's not very beginner friendly. Like, I would say that sourcing on finer margin, or running a business on finer margins, is much more like, you have to be a lot smarter and cash flow managing and everything compared to what we do, where there's a lot of comfort. There's a lot of comfort in everything we pick up. There's a lot of comfort in all the margins. There's a lot of comfort in a peace of mind realistically. But when you pick up fine margins and you make a mistake, it hurts a lot more. You have to wait a lot longer time to get things going. So it's interesting. Like I do think that yes, we could absolutely run a completely different style of business, and that might be holding us back where we could make more money doing that. But I think the problem is you get into this habit and then you don't want to leave it, right? Like you don't want to give up on making this work before you've tried that.
I've come into this recently because obviously, as we all know, it's well established. I promised Tasha that we weren't going to try and scale anymore until next year.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been looking into like the clothing side of things and how I scale that. And realistically, the only way for me to scale it and get more is to either employ more people to source for me, or using different methods. And then, or you just take a lower margin. So you take the 20 a day that you've got at the current margin of the £15 profit, whatever it is, like on that but margin. But then you also list 10 a day that are at a £10 profit. So like you're still hitting the minimum margin, but like also maximum margin as well. Or you just go into a different niche, which is kind of what I'm thinking about doing. Because I know a good amount about certain niches. Like it means that you can sort of like do two, even if they are completely different. But that's the way that you have to think about these things if you want to keep the margin the same. The margin's the hardest bit to keep the same, and scale.
Yeah, I think
you could even, by the way, you could reduce your listings. You could go from 20 listings to 10, but improve your cost of goods and improve your ASP. And then, so maybe my ASP, say my average cost of goods is 10 and I'm selling stuff for 40, I could just spend 40 and sell it for 150. Like I know people that, well, we all know people that do that on online and stuff. So you could just sell 10 of those a day rather than the 20 that I'm doing. So there are ways of maneuvering it around, but it's just, each of them comes with its own difficulty level.
This is what I was. Should I just ask what I was going to ask? Which, well, I was going to say is depends what your version of scaling is, right? Like, I feel like we talk about scaling a lot, like a big business, like towards the $1 million mark in terms of revenue, like a proper substantial business. Whereas obviously most people's idea is not to scale to that point. And actually, on the other side of things, if you want to look at the flip side of it, is for a lot of people's goals in what they want from this business is easily scalable. Like you can scale to that level without too much trouble, actually. Like I genuinely don't think, like if you want to go for the 30 to 40 a day, I think you can get there pretty much. Like you can get there pretty within reason. Like you can scale to that point, combine a few things together, maybe just have to work a little bit harder, but maybe to get a few things established. But once you kind of got them sorted out, then I think you can be at that level, and that's a really good level to be at, like realistically speaking.
To get them, in my head, or at least from the way that I'm looking at it, is that if I wanted to get to 40 a day, I would have to reduce some of those profit margins.
Do you think you just have to like? So obviously you're looking at it in probably one way at the moment. You might just have to combine a few things.
Like, yeah, again, like
I guess is also combining new things though. So like for example, if you're adding electronics, then you're
saying or whatever, that keeps the margin, if not improves the margin more.
Yeah, but you're still running the same model as what I'm saying.
2020 clothing electronics, then that keeps the margin. I'm talking about if I was going fully into clothing at 40 a day, I believe I would have to reduce the margins on average.
Yeah, but there's no real reason you need to just go into clothing. I mean, it makes the processes a lot more efficient, but in terms of like the model as such of like how we buy and sell with the profit margin, you can just combine a few things and you'll probably get there. Like you might take on tech, and then you might take on a little bit of cameras, and then suddenly you're probably there. Like realistically, you're actually probably easily there. And you don't need to change anything in terms of how much money you take. Like you say, you can kind of improve it, or you can pick the best of all worlds. Like you can take the best 10 from clothing with the highest margin, the best 10 from electronics, the best 10 from thing. You just have to. There then becomes a different issue, which isn't the sourcing side of things. It's then the processing and the storage side of things, or whatever.
I was about to say, I do think that because obviously I've talked about going into certain electronics and bits and pieces and stuff like that. And I do think that if I do, like, because I'm pretty confident I'm going to go into that niche this year, like next year, fully, not fully, but you know what I mean, like have it as part of the business or whatever. But I do think that actually having that side of it then makes it very easy to add an extra niche, because I would argue that most electronics, CRT TVs, like big stereo systems, stacks, like all those sorts of things that are worth the money, they're all a bit annoying and obnoxious to pack. So actually, once you get that bit down and you've streamlined your business so that you've got the clothing on one side and the electronics on the other, it wouldn't be that hard to add other things into the electronic side of things, because the packaging probably wouldn't be much different.
Probably easier.
Or easier for a lot of it. So yeah, I think if I go straight into that, then I feel like it's going to free up the world of not caring too much about what I'm packing, and getting better at packing and space and trying to work all these sorts of things out. The only downside to that is that you have to increase everything else. So I would probably have to, you know, maybe get somebody else in to come and help us do a few bits and pieces. I might have to upgrade the units into a proper office, which I'm looking to do anyway, like warehouse. So you have to add a few extra additional costs before you can make it work. But yeah.
Did you actually, speaking of doing that, like that sort of thing, the one thing I saw a video the other day of a guy that works in like an Amazon warehouse, and they have a machine, and they just press a button on the machine and it dispenses the perfect length of tape every time.
Incredible.
And I was like, that, if you want to pack, like, because again, think about how many different size boxes they do all the time.
Yeah.
Like you could see him just do it. He was literally, they just sit at a desk, they bring him stuff, and he's just like, okay, this size box, bang it in there, throw some paper, tape dispenser, whoop, whoop, gone. Like it was very efficient. Stuff like that. I want to go back to a few things quickly. So 2 things actually, a combination of Andrew and my mum actually, is obviously Andrew says he has no problem sourcing, right? And that's because in my head, Andrew's metrics are very, very different to what we care about.
And this is what I was saying about like the percentages. Like our percentage is too high for us to want to do his model, but he's happy doing his model because he's always done his model. So he's like,
it's not the percentage that's interesting, it's the time frame. So for example, we could keep up our percentages, but change the time frame. Maybe we're too strict on our sell-through metrics, like how quickly we're willing to sell something, right? And again, that is another thing that I think a lot of this comes with beginner-friendly model of selling in terms of a short time frame and for a good margin, because that leads to healthy cash flow, that leads to a good returns on whatever you're selling, and you feel very good about that. But if you then take that to a longer period and you go, hey, I don't care about, I've got an established cash flow, my business is established, I don't need stuff to be turning over as quick. Yes, it's good if I can, but I'm happy to wait a little bit longer now for my business to catch up, or I have the facilities for my business to catch up. You could change out the profit margin for the time frame, and you could go.
Really interesting, because I turned down £100 coat the other day in the charity shop because there was about 98 listed and 25 sold, and it was only going to cost me £8, and all of the solds were around 90 to 110, like within that sort of variable. And I didn't pick it up because 25 had sold out of 100 and just under 100 listed. So I turned down £100 coat because I was like, that's probably going to take too long to sell.
But exactly right. So if you switched your margins how you viewed it, then you could have a completely different business. And for example, it might take you a year to then reap the reward. It's also a slow burn, right? Like if you suddenly start picking stuff up that's going to take a year to sell, again, you might run into cash flow issues, so you probably need to be in a better position to start with.
Too many times it can cause some issues if you're not ready for it.
In what?
If you pick up too many slow burners and you're not ready for it, then that can cause some serious issues as well.
Yeah. So, but then if you then were happy to, and then you'd have to wait a year for all of that to then reap the rewards, which feels probably slow. Like it would suck realistically, because you're just depleting money in that sort of phase rather than making a lot. But depends on how you buy stuff in. And so this will be too with labels. I think those things I can hear myself. I don't know.
Hello.
Okay, that's right. Oh, hello. Are we too picky with labels? Because this probably comes off the back where she showed me a bag of stuff and she was like, I was like, no. But it probably would have sold to someone in a different time frame. But for the margin we go off of or the metrics we go off of, it's like no. That's generally what I'm thinking. So you could change some stuff around for that sort of way. Again, I think your business just feels and looks a lot healthier if you can maintain how we do it. Yeah. Right? If you can maintain the margins, if you can maintain the metrics, we're going for pretty much the ideal. I mean, the ideal would be like, everything sells in a day and it sells for whatever fucking amount, but like a realistic ideal of what we're capable of. So yeah, that's I think that's difficult to maintain, like that ideal. But there's a lot of ways you can skin the cat. Interesting.
I just wanted to shout out your mum really, because she seems lovely and very smart. She put here, maybe Benji could ask someone who does lean process engineering to review his system, but who thinks he would even listen? And I'm very astute, because I agree.
I don't know if she's referencing either herself or someone I know that does lean into process engineering. But yes, I think.
Do you genuinely think if somebody came in and said you're doing this wrong and you could improve this, if you didn't agree with them, there's no way you would there's no way that they're changing your mind. If you didn't agree, there's no way that they're changing your mind to go, oh, actually, maybe I should look. You wouldn't even entertain the idea of trying it if you didn't agree. 100%. You would have to go, oh, and then think about it, and then like if there was no agreement there, there's no way you would listen. And she is also talking about her.
Yeah, I thought it was her, but I haven't heard herself to refer to herself as lean business engineering before. Would I listen? I mean, again, a lot of it comes down to the case they make for it. I think the problem with something like that is they could tell you that you need to do that, but I think the hard thing is seeing how you can do it, right? Like,
so they would have to come with, this is why this doesn't work, or this is inefficient because of this. Because if they just go, that doesn't work, you need to change that. If there's no understanding of why,
or how, like if I'm like, oh, for example, this isn't me, and I'm like generally human problem. If I can't see a way to change it, then I'm stuck. Like, right? Like I'm stuck. Like I'm like, okay, they've told me to change this, but how do I change it? And they're like, that's not my job. I'm like, okay, I don't know a better way right now on how to change this. So how am I meant to change it? I guess you can start looking at how you're meant to change it because they've told you it needs changing. But I feel like that's difficult. Like it's difficult for someone to come and go, this needs improvement here. If they come in and go, this is how you can improve this, or implement this strategy, and you should be able to find a solution as to how you can figure this out, then I'm like, okay, cool. But if they just come in and be like, yes, yes, just change this, then I'd be like, I don't know. Like it would be very difficult to just like listen to that. Okay, I'll be like, okay, they've told me I need to change it, so I need to change it. I'm very much a why guy. Like I need to know why, or especially in that situation.
I feel like I'm similar, but I feel like I'm probably, out of the two of us, I'm probably the one to take it away. And even if I don't agree, I would pay more attention to it and try and work it out in a different way. But even then, look, nobody in life likes to be told that they're doing something wrong when they think they're doing it right. Like that's just the fundamentals of being a human being, right? We don't like
that. You actually say that. So I don't know if you've gotten through any of the second half of the book we're listening to in book club.
Oh no, I've got to do that today.
But it's really interesting listening to talking about gritty people and the fact that they want feedback. Like their thing is they'll go to training and what they'll want is to hear all the negatives. Like they'll want someone to come back at them and just tell them everything they did wrong so they can improve. So I think like I actually quite, although you say I don't like listening or don't like agree, I love hearing what I've done wrong or feedback, generally speaking.
You like the conversation around it, and then if you can combat it, because you're like me, if you can combat that negative, then you feel like you've thought about it and you've done enough to think that. Do you know what I mean? So like if
No,
somebody goes, "Oh, you're doing this wrong," and you go, "Well, actually, I'm doing it because of this, this, and this, and this is the reason why you can't do it the way that you want me to do it," and if you could come back with that angle, then you're comfortable in your own skin, then knowing that you have thought about it enough. Because this is what I did with one of the calls where I let everybody just come in and tell me why I was wrong, and then I went back, and every time I had a rebuttal, I felt like I thought about that process. But as soon as somebody came with something I didn't have an answer for, that was the one I wrote down and was like, right, this is the bit I need to think about more. And I think that's a slightly different way of taking feedback, I think.
I know, no, because I think that's part and parcel, right? Like, for example, if someone comes and gives you feedback and they're like, and this is obviously centered a lot around like athletes and stuff like that. If someone comes and gives you feedback and it's like, oh, your left arm wasn't in the correct shape, right? You can't be like, oh, it was like like it's either your technique's right or not, kind of thing, right? Like, yeah, some people have different technique, but generally there's like an most efficient form of swimming of some sort or something like that. But if someone comes in and goes, or a lot of that, like the athlete's response can be like, oh, I know this is something I'm working on, this is what I'm doing to combat that. But that feedback's still warranted, and it doesn't mean it's not right, or like that it's not using the feedback in the same way. It's just like they might be aware of the fact that they're doing something wrong in the first place. I think you're right. When you're unaware, I think that's why you pitch it for a lot of time. When you're unaware of a problem, that's the most useful feedback. Like if someone can give you some feedback that changes how you think about something because you haven't realized that it's something that's going wrong.
Yeah.
Like people are, like, for example, people can get feedback all the time. A lot of people know what they're doing wrong. Like people know what mistakes they're making a lot of the time, or what they're meant to be doing, or that they're not doing, or anything like that. So I think that's like a lot of feedback probably like that is redundant, and can also probably like a lot of times why feedback can be really annoying, because if you already know what you're doing wrong, and someone comes and tells you you're doing it wrong again, you're just like kind of fuck off. Like people can just be like, oh,
well, if you know you're doing it wrong, comes and tells you you're doing it wrong, then you know that you need to change it. So why haven't you changed it?
Yeah, but also people just will get annoyed at that sort of stuff, to be honest with you. But I mean, there's plenty of like people every single day like that. I promise you, every person in here is doing something they probably know they shouldn't be doing, but they're doing it anyway.
I go back to the conversation that we had in January last year, when I was like a roller coaster of emotions every time I had good or a bad sales day, and I made an absolute decision to not let it ruin my day or impact my day in any way, shape, or form. And genuinely, that since that day, for the first like 2 weeks, I tried to actively ignore looking at the numbers, and then I was like, this isn't working. And then I started looking at the numbers and going, all right, cool. And then I would zoom out, look at the month versus the month, and it would be pretty similar, even with the horrible week I just had. Like the last month was good, and now I don't like. I see the numbers, and the other day I had a £160 day, and then the next day I had a £700 day, and I felt the same looking at those numbers, either of those days. And that's one of the biggest things. Like I think if you do have some feedback and you can act on it, that's the most important thing, is knowing if you know you've got an issue and you don't act on it, that's completely different to knowing that you've got an issue, somebody telling you, and you're going, absolutely, now let me go and work out how to fix this, because now I don't pay any attention. Like I see it and I look at it, but there's no visceral like feeling from me anymore. I don't get that like, oh no, that was terrible. I could look at it and go, that wasn't a very good day, or that was a great day, but there's no emotional attachment to it now, which is fantastic, I think.
I mean, that's a great, like, obviously again, that was something you used to
I struggled with it massively for a very long time. Yeah.
But that's cool that it actively made a difference, like finding something that actively made a difference. Because a lot of the time it's like, how do you change certain things? Sometimes like you can get stuck with that like a lot of the time. So for example, that's like a mental thing, right? Like how do I figure that out? And the fact that worked for you. Another thing that that said in the book, I can't remember exactly the wording, but it's basically like conscious practice turns into unconscious performance, something like that, basically, or in a different way. So basically saying that, And it made me think about changing stuff like that. For example, you have to consciously like do that every day until suddenly, like you said, now it's unconscious and you're like, oh, I just don't care anymore. Like
Yeah.
I've done this enough and it's got into my head enough that it's freed my mind like to not have to think about this, which is really interesting. But it's feedback in itself is like being able to take feedback and really use that. I think is a skill in itself that's quite difficult sometimes. Like I think as people we are very prone to defending ourselves. Like our
It's
thought
very straight away.
our
No,
thought process is everything. Like we are designed to defend how we think and how we've done things, because else it feels bad. We don't want to feel bad. So I think it's taking feedback and also implementing it is difficult. It's a difficult task. That I think you kind of have to practice on, or like again the same way you said you removed your emotion from that. You have to remove your emotion from stuff like that to be able to really take it on board, which is difficult.
So, in terms of prepping for Christmas, are you doing anything different over December, or are you just going to continue the same way? Because I don't know if we actually even touched on it. Because I am going to be reducing my listings down to probably like 12 a day, but I'm going to be sourcing the same amount, because one of the biggest issues I've had over the last year is just I would be like day to day in terms of listings. Like sometimes I'd have like a big back stock, sometimes I wouldn't have any, because like some days are just so variable. But I think this year, like, so last year I took all of December off pretty much, like maybe 3 weeks of it. I just didn't list anything. I think I listed 5 things for the entirety of December last year. But I didn't source much either. Whereas this year I think I'm going to source and try and be consistent with that, but then reduce the listings to 12, just so that I can increase my backlog. December for us is inherently pretty poor anyway, and then I can really get straight back in with January.
But what's the point of that?
Well, because it gives me a better backlog. What's
the point of that? What's the point of the better backlog?
Well, because there's been days over the last like couple of months, because I'm paying somebody to do the listings, right? If I give them 15 or I give them 20, he gets paid the same amount of money. So to be the most efficient with this, like I am, it is to give him 20 every single day to do the listings, right?
So you're not. So when the new year comes around, you're not going to like jump up in listings. You're just going to go back to where you were and then
back to the 20 and be consistent. But the idea with December is I source all of December the same amount or as much as I possibly can. Luckily for me, we have built up a cash flow, which has meant that I can source more heavily than I have to sell, which is great. But it does mean reinvesting a lot of the capital that I've gained over this year. So that's kind of the downside. But it just means that I'm going to be able to be much more consistent next year than I have been this year. And again, we've talked about it loads of times, but my struggles within like January to March, where I was up at 20, down to 10, up at 20, 25, 15, like I'm going to have a much better foundation moving forward. And then obviously the car boots are going to kick in, and that's going to give me another opportunity to really get some stuff back in as well. So
nice. Okay. For me, I think that's a good idea, to be fair. I just thought from my head, I was like, oh, you're going to jump up and just replenish the backlog, but it makes sense to just give yourself that buffer and then hold it there. That's like a draft bank, right? Where you get the draft sorted and then you keep the drafts instead of just using them all like you did, like, and not doing the other, like instead of not photographing a listing anymore, because you have to keep photographing a listing so the draft bank stays there and you can keep topping it up and stuff like that. So that's what I thought you might end up doing with the thing if you just stopped sourcing once you got to January or whatever, and then you just plow.
It's literally just to give myself enough stock that I've always got stuff in the bank and stuff like that, just for ease of mind more than anything else, so that I don't have to worry about, because I would say the last 2 months have been way more stressful in sourcing than the entirety of the whole year so far.
Interesting.
Just based on the way that we source and a couple of complications and stuff like that, so it just makes it more difficult.
I mean, I'm gonna crack on, to be honest with you, because I want to have stuff in place to be selling when January comes around. So I don't want to have to be getting stuff up when January comes. I want to have, especially because I've diminished my store so much. I want to get stuff up and going when it comes, so we're ready to go when people are coming to buy. And with how we do things, then it should be good to go. And obviously I need to get back into the groove of things and get this model moving and get people sending me stuff. So yeah, my goal is to get moving and grooving. No time off except for, oh, actually I lie, I'm going away obviously at the end of December. So it'd be good to get some stuff prepped for that if I can, because I'm going away for a week, which is a decent chunk of time. I have to sort my holiday stuff out for that as well. But yeah, obviously Christmas Day and Boxing Day. And
do you still live on Christmas Day? Because I always have done.
Still
last year, but like the prior year to that, I was listing on Christmas Day. I was listing on all the days.
I think so. I think I had it prepped, so I just banged them up.
I think sourcing on Christmas Day and Boxing Day is a really good chance to get some good stuff as
well.
The
sourcing I won't be doing, but a listing, yeah, because you can just have them and it takes you 2 seconds to just click them all and just throw them up, doesn't it? So
yeah, I'll probably be sourcing on all of the days.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Sorry for the kerfuffle at the start.
I now know not to press that button again on the StreamYard. That helps.
I mean, I don't know if it's done well or not, to be honest with you, because we've had a lot of people come in and out, so I might be doing the absolute bits. But if you do want any feedback and are looking for feedback on your store and your reselling from some other people, come join the reseller group. Link in description. And if not, we'll see you next week. Bye.
Hopefully I'm not ill then. Bye.